The world is broken, splintered into feudal kingdoms. Some vie for power, and others, well, they aim to become emperor and rule over the broken world. But in the distance, a shadow is spreading, seeking to engulf the broken world. This is the backdrop for Mark Lawrence's Broken Empire series. The Broken Empire is a trilogy. The books are Prince of Thorns, King of Thorns, and Emperor of Thorns. Before I get into the review, let me explain how I actually do reviews. Personally, I'm not a fan of a single rating for an entire series or book. Many books and series have strengths and weaknesses that a single score doesn't properly reflect. So for my reviews, I use a 5-star rating system, with the 5 being the highest, over 6 categories. And they are plot, world building, characters, magic system, writing, and enjoyment. But before I begin, these videos do take a lot of time to put together. So if you like the video, it would mean a lot to me if you subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Category 1. The plot. The series follows Prince Honoris Jorg Ankrat. Avoiding as much spoilers as possible, a brutal tragedy befalls the 9-year-old Jorg and sets him on a path of vengeance, and he enlists and leads a band of mercenaries called the Brothers to help him. During the 4 or 5 years on the road with the Brothers, Jorg lives a violent and hard life that is reflected in present-day Jorg, who is 14 years old. After the long years on the road with the Brothers, Jorg decides to return home to his father's castle when word reaches him of a threat to his place in his father's succession plans. To prove his standing, Jorg agrees to topple nearby Geleth for his father. He does so, and in the process encounters and receives necromantic powers. These powers will help Jorg later when he is betrayed, but more than that, it breaks a spell on him that prevented him from achieving vengeance for the tragedy that befell him at 9. Book 1 concludes with Jorg becoming a king and setting his sights on becoming emperor of the Broken Empire. After becoming king, Jorg encounters Prince Orn of Arrow, who also aims to become emperor of the Broken Empire. Unlike Jorg, Prince Orn is more of a statesman than a rogue and aims to be a good emperor for the people. The title of emperor given only to the one that can win a majority vote, Jorg realizes that he needs to gain support from the other nations, and he chooses to start with his mother's family. The journey to and from his grandfather has Jorg partake in several side adventures that leave him with powers of fire magic, necromancy, and information regarding the Builders, which is the term used for the people that predated the people of the Broken Empire. Also, he gets engaged to Miana, an 8-year-old girl. 4 years later, on Jorg and Miana's wedding day, Jorg's kingdom is under attack from a rival power. The second book concludes with Jorg surviving the attack with the use of magic and ancient weapons, but doing so strips him of the fire and necromantic powers that he previously obtained. Also, there are allusions to the dead king who is carrying out his conquest of the Drowned Isles and is set up as a coming threat to Jorg and the Broken Empire. In the final book, Jorg is 20 and travels to the former imperial capital of Vienne to make his case for being the next emperor. The way it works is that every 7 years a congression is held at Vienne, and representatives of all the kingdoms of the Broken Empire cast their votes for an emperor. If a candidate receives a majority of the vote, then he will become emperor. Hanging over the congression like a dark cloud is the rise of the dead king's army. After conquering the Drowned Isles, his armies march on the Broken Empire. The book focuses on Jorg's journey to Vienne, and again on past events in Jorg's life that further illustrates how he is a reflection of his past. Unfortunately, I can't talk about the conclusion of Book 3 without avoiding major spoilers, so I'll just say that it wraps up Jorg's story and that of the Broken Empire. As for my rating, ultimately I'll give the plot 3 stars out of 5. In terms of structure and flow, events transpire organically and there's a definite cause and effect vibe as best seen by Jorg, where you can see how the events of his past contribute to what he is like in the present. That being said, there are a lot of plot contrivances that made me roll my eyes. Often. One thing I couldn't get over while reading the series are the physical acts that Jorg accomplishes at the age of like 10 and 14. Granted, some of it's explained, but others like him strangling grown men at the age of 15 is literally reality breaking. Worse, when he starts lecturing 30-year-olds about philosophy, I'm going to check out for a couple of paragraphs. Now I understand that Jorg has seen things and been through a lot, but it feels like he's the only one that has, and all these older characters have no experiences of their own, maybe outside of Mackin. And realistically speaking, what 30-year-old is going to allow themselves to be lectured by a teenager? It's just not going to happen. Still, I like the flow of events in the series and did appreciate the set battles, the action events, and intrigue. Personally, however, the Dead King's coming felt rushed and off, so I didn't feel like his arrival was an apocalyptic event, so it diminished a lot of the events at the end of Book 3 for me. Still, It's a solid plot, just with some issues. Category 2, world building. So I like the world that Mark Lawrence created here. I like the setup of the Broken Empire with the different kingdoms, the dark nature of the world itself, but more importantly, I like the history of the world. I can't go into too much of it without spoiling it, but Lawrence did a great job of fleshing out the builders, their legacy, and how that legacy impacted the present world of the Broken Empire. So I'll give it 4 stars out of 5. Category 3, the characters. When I look at characters, I like to look at them with 2 different lenses. 1, if the character was a real person, what would be my opinion of them? And 2, what is my opinion of the character as a written person? Seeing as Jorg is the main POV character of the series, probably accounting for 95% of the trilogy, this entire category comes down to my view on Jorg. From the real life person's lens, I hate Jorg. He's a murderous psychopath with very few redeeming qualities. From a written character lens, I'm a bit torn. Who Jorg is makes sense based on his history and the tragedies that he had to deal with. So it's not like Lawrence just said, here's Jorg and he's a murderous psychopath because I just want him to be a murderous psychopath. His history allows you as the reader to understand why he is the way he is, and you can actually sympathize with him. That being said, there are things about Jorg that hurt the written character to me. 1, he's extremely lucky, like Matt Quathin levels of luck from the Wheel of Time series. The first book explains this in parts, so I can give it a pass, but the other books, based on what happens, just don't have the same excuse. Also, he has a little Gary Stu in him. For example, and this is a really minor spoiler, but Jorg can use his necromancy powers without any training or practice. He just does it when he needed to use it in order to survive a situation. Not a fan of that at all for writing. Thirdly, as I mentioned before, his physical prowess at the age of 14 is reality breaking. It's just a huge turn off for me. Outside of Jorg, the other characters are barely even fleshed out. I can forgive this since the story is told from Jorg's POV, but I felt like it was a missed opportunity. Rating this one is tough for me, but I'm going to have to give it 2 stars out of 5. The primary reason being the underdeveloped side characters. Category 4, the magic system. So there is a magic system in the Broken Empire series with fire magic, dream magic, and necromancy magic. Unfortunately, it's really not detailed and explained. It's something that the reader can piece together from the series and related series. Essentially, the magic system was created when reality was altered by human belief. It's not a bad system per se, but it's not fleshed out and can be something you never truly understand unless you really pay attention to it. Because of that, I'll have to give it 2 stars out of 5. Category 5, the writing. I'll get out the way and say that Mark Lawrence is a good writer. His prose is clear and concise, and he expertly balances humor and violence so it doesn't feel too jarring or out of place. Descriptions of places are good, and Jorg really feels like a person writing to you rather than an author writing to you. Overall, I would give it 4 stars out of 5. Category 6, enjoyment. Ultimately, I enjoyed the Broken Empire series. I've read a lot of series in the past where I was utterly frustrated with the series that I started skimming sections just to get to the end. I can honestly say I didn't do that here. Yes, there are certain things that bother me about the series, but you can say that for any book or series. One of the things that gets tired in fantasy series are clearly defined good or bad guys or beating you over the head with morally gray characters. Jorg honestly is a human. He's done good things, bad things, gray things, but he's not defined and lumped into one of those categories of character. It makes it refreshing to read. Overall, I would give it 3 stars out of 5. So that's my review of the Broken Empire series. I hope it helps you decide whether it's a series you want to invest in or not. If you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like. And with that, I'll see you all in the next one.